20 minutes of stories. Like and subscribe. Guys, my friend forgot to mute his microphone, and what I heard completely changed the way I see him. So me and this guy have been friends for years. We played together almost every day, talked in Discord calls for hours, and I thought I knew pretty much everything about him. Then last weekend, we were playing late at night when he suddenly said he had to do something. Normally he'd mute his mic whenever he left, but this time he forgot. At first I didn't even notice. I was just playing the game waiting for him to come back. Then I started hearing voices in the background. I wasn't trying to listen, but one sentence immediately caught my attention. Someone asked him, "Does he know yet?" My friend replied, "No, and I'm not telling him until it's finished." My stomach instantly dropped. I had no idea what they were talking about, but the fact that they were clearly talking about me made me nervous. Then another voice said, "He's gonna freak out when he finds out." At this point, I was completely confused. I sat there listening, trying to figure out what was happening. For the next few minutes, they kept talking about plans, dates, and making sure everything stayed secret. The more I heard, the more worried I got. My mind was racing through every possible scenario. Then finally, I heard the thing that shocked me the most. One of them said, "Do you think he'll like the gift?" I froze. A gift? Suddenly, everything started making sense. They weren't talking behind my back. They were planning something for me. A few seconds later, my friend realized his mic was still on and immediately muted himself. The next day, he messaged me acting completely normal, but I already knew something was up. Then a week later, it was my birthday. Guys, almost 20 of my online friends joined a surprise party they'd secretly been planning for over a month. And the reason I almost ruined the whole thing was because my friend forgot to mute his microphone. I accidentally catfished my own best friend, and I still can't believe this actually happened. So, a few months ago, me and my friends made fake Roblox accounts as a joke. Nothing serious, we just wanted to see if people treated new players differently. I made a completely random account, changed the avatar, gave it a fake name, and started playing. After a few days, I met this really cool player, and we started talking all the time. We'd play together for hours, send messages every day, and somehow became really close. The weird part was that they reminded me so much of my best friend. Same jokes, same way of typing, same favorite games. But I kept telling myself there was no way. My best friend already had an account and played with me all the time. Then one night, we were both talking about our real lives, and I mentioned this super embarrassing story that had happened to me years ago. The other player instantly replied, "Wait, are you serious?" My stomach dropped. That story was something I'd only ever told one person. Subscribe for part 2. My best friend. Suddenly, everything started clicking. The jokes, the typing style, the way they always knew exactly what I was talking about. So I decided to test it. The next day, I messaged my best friend on his main account and told him I was going offline for the night. Literally 10 seconds later, the other account messaged me asking where I went. Guys, my heart stopped. I asked him one question that only my best friend would know the answer to. He got it instantly. Then there was about a minute of complete silence before he sent a message saying, "Please tell me you're not who I think you are." That's when I realized what had happened. For weeks, we'd both been talking to each other on fake accounts without knowing who the other person was. I replied with my real username, and a few seconds later, he sent back, "No way." We both just sat there completely shocked, because somehow, without meaning to, I had spent an entire month catfishing my own best friend. Guys, I accidentally exposed my secret YouTube channel to my crush, and I think it was the most embarrassing moment of my life. So for the past year, I've been running a YouTube channel that nobody at school knew about. I posted gaming videos, Roblox content, random stories, and even though it wasn't huge, I was really proud of it. The problem was that I wanted to keep it completely separate from my real life, especially from my crush. Then yesterday, everything went wrong. We were in the library working on a project together, and I had my laptop open. At some point, I needed to grab a file from my desktop, so I switched tabs without thinking. The second I did, my YouTube dashboard popped up on the screen. My channel name, my videos, my subscriber count, everything. Before I could close it, she looked over and said, "Wait, that's your channel?" My heart literally stopped. I tried to laugh it off, but it was too late. She was already scrolling through my page. Then she clicked on one of my videos. Guys, I wanted the floor to swallow me whole. She started watching one of my old uploads that I made months ago, and I was sitting there dying inside. Then she started smiling. Not laughing at me, actually smiling. After a minute, she paused the video and said, "Hold on, I've seen this before." I thought she meant she recognized me, but then she opened her phone and showed me something. She was subscribed. Not only subscribed, she'd been subscribed for almost 6 months. I couldn't believe it. I asked her why she never told me, and she just shrugged and said, "I didn't know it was you." Then she looked at me and said, "Honestly, I think it's kind of cool." Guys, I spent an entire year trying to make sure my crush never found my channel, and it turns out she'd been watching my videos the whole time. Guys, I think my Roblox best friend is actually a famous celebrity. For those who don't know, about 6 months ago, I met this player named Alex. We played almost every day. Bed Wars, Brookhaven, horror games, pretty much everything. We became best friends really fast. But there was always something strange about them. Every time I asked what they looked like, they'd change the subject. Whenever I asked to voice call, they always had an excuse. Their microphone was broken, they were busy, family was around. I never thought much of it. I just figured they were shy. But then weird things started happening. A few weeks ago, we were playing together when Alex suddenly left in the middle of a game. About 10 minutes later, I opened TikTok and saw a video of a huge celebrity arriving at some event. At first I thought it was a coincidence, but then it happened again and again. Every time that celebrity went live, Alex disappeared. Every time they posted on social media, Alex would stop responding. I started comparing the times and guys, it matched almost perfectly. I tried convincing myself I was overthinking it. There's no way a celebrity would randomly be playing Roblox with me, right? But yesterday, everything changed. Alex sent me a message saying they had something important to tell me. My heart immediately started racing. I thought maybe they were finally going to voice call. Instead, they sent me a private game link. When I joined, it was just us standing there in an empty server. Then they typed, "I haven't been completely honest with you." I was completely confused. A few seconds later, they sent me a photo. Guys, it was them. It was literally the celebrity I'd been suspicious of this entire time. I thought it had to be fake. I thought somebody was trolling me, but then they started sending proof. Photos that weren't public. Things nobody else should have had. I just sat there staring at my screen, completely shocked. Then they sent one final message. "Please don't tell anyone." Before I could even type a response, they unfriended me. Their account went offline, and I haven't heard from them since. Guys, I found an account that copied everything I did, and it started getting really creepy. A few weeks ago, I noticed a player whose avatar looked almost identical to mine. Same clothes, same accessories, everything. At first, I thought it was a coincidence, but then I realized every time I changed my avatar, they changed theirs too. Every game I started playing suddenly appeared on their profile. Even my display name changes were copied within hours. It felt like someone was constantly watching me. So I decided to test it. I changed my avatar into the ugliest outfit possible with random hats and weird colors. The next day, I checked their profile and froze. They had copied the entire thing exactly. At that point, I knew it wasn't random. I messaged them and asked why they were copying me. Hours later, they finally replied with one sentence, "Because you're copying me." I laughed because it made absolutely no sense. Then they sent another message. "Check your old screenshots." Guys, my stomach dropped. I started looking through screenshots from months ago and found one from nearly a year earlier. Standing in the background was the same account, the same username, the same avatar. Somehow they had been appearing in my games for almost a year without me noticing. Then I got one final message. "I wasn't copying you. I was making sure you kept copying me." A few seconds later, the account changed its avatar, unfriended me, and disappeared. The weirdest part? When I looked back at my old avatars, I realized a lot of the ideas I thought were original were things that account had been wearing first. My Roblox friend disappeared for an entire year, and when he finally came back, the message he sent me genuinely scared me. So about 2 years ago, I met this guy while playing Roblox, and we became friends almost instantly. We played every day. Bed Wars, Brookhaven, horror games, literally everything. Then one day, he just vanished. No warning, no goodbye. His account stopped joining games. His Discord went inactive. It was like he completely disappeared from the internet. At first, I thought he was just taking a break, but days turned into weeks, weeks turned into months, and eventually a whole year passed. I honestly accepted that he was never coming back. Then last week, I got a notification. It was him. The same username, the same account, the same friend I hadn't heard from in over a year. My heart was racing. I instantly messaged him asking where he'd been and if he was okay. But instead of answering, he sent one message. "Do you still live in the same house?" I froze. It was such a weird question. I asked what he meant, but he ignored it. A few minutes later, he sent another message, the one with the white fence in front. Guys, I never told him what my house looked like. Not once. My stomach dropped. I started scrolling through our old chats trying to see if I had accidentally mentioned it somewhere, but there was nothing. Then another message appeared. "Your room is upstairs, right?" At this point, I was genuinely freaking out. I asked him how he knew any of this, and he finally replied, "Because I saw it." I couldn't even process what I was reading. A whole year of silence, and this was the first conversation we were having. Then he sent one final message that completely terrified me. He said, "Look outside." My hands were shaking as I walked to my window. I pulled the curtain back and stared into the street. There was nobody there. Nothing. Just an empty road. Then my phone buzzed again. It was another message from him. "Wrong window." I just found out my online best friend was actually my neighbor, and I still can't believe this was happening right in front of me the entire time. So about 7 months ago, I met this guy while playing Roblox. We started talking, added each other, and before long, we were playing together every single day. We talked about everything. School, games, family, random stuff that happened during the day. Honestly, he knew more about my life than most people I knew in real life. The weird thing was that whenever I asked where he lived, he'd always give the most vague answers possible. He'd just say somewhere nearby, and then immediately change the subject. I never thought much of it until a few days ago. We were in a call together when I complained about construction workers making noise outside my house. Without even thinking, he goes, "Yeah, they're taking forever to finish that blue house." My heart skipped a beat because there was only one blue house being worked on in my area. Still, I convinced myself it was just a coincidence. Then later that day, my dog started barking like crazy, and a few seconds later he messages me, "Can your dog chill out for 1 minute?" Guys, there was no way. I hadn't told him my dog was barking. I hadn't even mentioned it. At that point, I started getting suspicious. So the next day, I decided to test him. While we were talking, I randomly said, "Hold on, some guy just rode past my house on a bright red bike." The thing is, I completely made it up. Nobody rode by. About 20 seconds later, he replied, "Yeah, I saw him too." My stomach dropped. He was lying. That bike never existed. So that night, I came up with one final test. We were in a call and I told him, "Watch this." Then I turned my bedroom light off and back on 3 times. A few seconds later, the house right next to mine did the exact same thing. I froze. My hands were literally shaking. I messaged him, "Look out your window." A minute passed before the curtains of the house next door slowly opened. Then my phone buzzed. It was a message from him that just said, "Well, this is awkward." Turns out the person I'd been spending hours talking to every single day wasn't living across the country like I always imagined. He had been living right next door to me the entire time, and somehow neither of us figured it out for 7 whole months. I need to tell you something. My friend leaked my biggest secret, and it completely ruined my week. So a few months ago, I told my best friend something that I had never told anyone else. It was one of those secrets you only trust with one person because you know they'll never tell anyone. At least that's what I thought. He promised me he wouldn't say a word. He literally looked me in the eye and said, "Nobody's ever finding out." So I believed him. Then a few days ago, I walked into school and immediately noticed people acting weird around me. Some were staring, some were laughing, and a few were asking really specific questions that made absolutely no sense. At first I thought I was overthinking it, but then during lunch someone walked up to me and mentioned my secret, almost word for word. My stomach dropped. There was no way they should have known that. The only person I'd ever told was my best friend. I spent the whole day trying to convince myself it had to be a coincidence until I checked my phone after school. One of my friends had sent me a screenshot from a group chat. Guys, there it was. My secret. Right there. My best friend had told someone, who told someone else, who told someone else, and by that point half the school knew. I couldn't believe it. I called him immediately and asked if it was true. At first he tried denying it, but then he admitted everything. He said he only told one person and thought they would keep it private. I just sat there in silence because that's exactly what I had trusted him to do. Then he said something that somehow made it worse. He goes, I didn't think it was that big of a deal. Not a big deal? It was literally the one thing I asked him not to tell anyone. After that, I hung up and haven't really talked to him since. The craziest part is that losing the secret wasn't even what hurt the most. It was realizing the person I trusted the most was the one who gave it away. Guys, I received a message from someone claiming to be my future self, and what happened next still freaks me out. A few weeks ago, I was playing Roblox when I got a message from a random account I'd never seen before. The account had no friends, no avatar items, and almost no game history. The only thing strange about it was the username. It was my exact username with the number 2031 at the end. I thought it was some weird joke until I opened the message. It said, I'm you, 5 years from now. Obviously I laughed. But then the account sent another message containing the exact nickname my grandparents used for me when I was little. Nobody online knew that. My stomach dropped. Before I could respond, another message appeared. Tomorrow your math teacher will spill coffee on her desk at 10:14 a.m. The next day, I couldn't stop thinking about it. Then at exactly 10:14, my teacher knocked over her coffee and spilled it across her desk. Guys, I nearly fell out of my chair. After school, I rushed home and checked my messages. There was already a new one waiting. Now you believe me. I demanded proof, something only I would know. A few seconds later, the account told me where I had hidden an old birthday card in my room years ago. I ran upstairs and checked. It was exactly where the message said it would be. At that point, I was genuinely terrified. Then the account sent one final message. I don't have much time. Tomorrow, whatever happens, don't accept the friend request. I spent the entire next day waiting. Nothing happened. Then that evening, I got a notification. A friend request. From the exact same account that had been messaging me. Confused, I clicked on the profile. My heart stopped. The account creation date wasn't from years in the future. It showed it had been created yesterday. Guys, a hacker sent me a message that predicted the future, and I still have absolutely no explanation for what happened. So a few weeks ago, I was playing Roblox when I got a random friend request from an account with a weird username made entirely of numbers. I accepted it because I thought it was just another player. Almost immediately, he sent me a message that said, at exactly 4:17 p.m., your internet will disconnect. I laughed because it sounded ridiculous. The guy was obviously trolling. I checked the clock and it was 4:12. 5 minutes later, right as the clock hit 4:17, my game froze and my internet completely died. I sat there staring at the screen. Sure, it was weird, but coincidences happen. When my internet came back, I checked my messages. The hacker had sent another one. It said, your friend Jake will text you in 3 minutes asking about homework. Again, I rolled my eyes. Jake never asked me about homework, ever. But exactly 3 minutes later, my phone buzzed. It was Jake. His message said, hey, do you know what the homework was? At that point, I felt sick. There was no way. I asked the hacker how he was doing this, but he ignored me. Instead, he sent another prediction. At 8:41 p.m., someone will knock on your front door. I spent the next few hours checking the clock every few minutes. Then 8:41 arrived. Knock, knock, knock. My heart nearly exploded. I ran downstairs and opened the door. It was a delivery driver who said he had the wrong address. Guys, nobody in my family had ordered anything. I was freaking out. Then the hacker finally replied to my messages. He said, now you're listening. I demanded to know who he was. A minute later, he sent one final prediction. Tomorrow at 3:28 p.m., you will discover who I am. The next day, I couldn't focus on anything. I just watched the clock. Then 3:28 arrived. My phone got a notification. The account that had been messaging me changed its display name. My stomach dropped when I read it. Because the new display name wasn't a random username anymore. It was my exact Roblox username. Guys, my online best friend knew my real name, and I still have no idea how he figured it out. So about 8 months ago, I met this guy while playing Roblox. We became friends almost instantly, and ended up playing together nearly every day. We talked about games, school, random stuff, but there was one thing I never shared. My real name. I was always careful about that. Online, everyone only knew me by my username. One night we were playing a horror game when he suddenly said, by the way, how was your math test today? I froze. I had taken a math test that morning, but I had never mentioned it to him. When I asked how he knew, he just replied, lucky guess. It felt weird, but I let it go. Then things got stranger. A few days later, he asked if my dog was feeling better. The problem was I had only talked about my dog being sick with my family. I started getting suspicious, so I asked him directly if he knew me in real life. He laughed and said no. Then he sent a message that made my stomach drop. It was my real first name. Guys, I had never told him. Not once. I immediately asked how he knew it, but he refused to answer. Instead, he said, want another clue? At that point, I was genuinely freaking out. Over the next few days, he kept dropping tiny details about my life that nobody online should have known. Nothing huge, but enough to make me nervous. Finally, I decided to test him. I told him to prove who he was. A few minutes later, he sent a photo. It wasn't of me. It wasn't even of my house. It was a picture of the park near my neighborhood. My heart started racing. Then he sent one final message. Look behind the soccer field tomorrow after school. The next day, I actually went. Hidden behind a bench was a small note with my Roblox username written on it. When I checked my phone, there was already a message waiting from him. It said, "Told you we'd meet eventually." Then he revealed who he was. Guys, it wasn't a hacker, a stalker, or some random stranger. It was a kid from my class who had been sitting 2 rows behind me the entire school year. Guys, my online girlfriend had a boyfriend the entire time, and I found out in the worst way possible. We had been together for almost 4 months. We met online, talked every day, called every night, and honestly, I thought she was the perfect girl. She'd always tell me how much I meant to her, how I was the first person she wanted to talk to when she woke up, and how she couldn't imagine her life without me. Looking back, there were definitely some red flags. She'd randomly disappear for hours and come back with some excuse. Sometimes she'd cancel calls at the last second because she was busy. But I trusted her, so I never questioned it. Then yesterday, everything fell apart. We were in a call together when she suddenly went quiet. She said she'd be right back and forgot to mute her microphone. At first, I didn't think much of it. Then I heard a guy's voice. Not a brother, not a friend, a guy calling her babe. My stomach instantly dropped. I sat there hoping I misunderstood, but then I heard her say it back. Guys, I couldn't believe what I was hearing. A few minutes later, she came back to the call, acting completely normal, like nothing happened. I asked her who that was, and there was just silence. Then she said, "I wasn't going to tell you like this." My heart sank. I asked her what she meant, and she admitted everything. She had a boyfriend the entire time. Not for a few days, not for a few weeks, the entire time we'd been talking. I asked her why she did it, and she said she never expected things to get this serious. Then she told me something that somehow made it even worse. Her boyfriend didn't know I existed either. We had both been lied to for months. After that, she left the call, and I just sat there staring at my screen. 4 months of messages, calls, memories, and none of it was what I thought it was. Guys, somebody was pretending to be me online, and I didn't find out until it was already too late. So a few months ago, I started getting weird messages from people on Roblox. Random players would join my games and say things like, "Why did you unfriend me?" Or, "Are you still giving away Robux?" The problem was, I had never spoken to any of these people before. At first, I thought they just had the wrong person, but it kept happening. Every single day, more people showed up claiming they knew me. Some were angry. Some were confused. One guy even accused me of scamming him. I had no idea what was going on. Then one afternoon, somebody sent me a screenshot. Guys, my heart literally stopped. The screenshot showed a Roblox account with my exact display name, my exact avatar, and even a nearly identical username. The only difference was a single letter hidden in the middle of the name. Most people would never notice it. Whoever made the account had copied everything about me. I immediately searched for the profile and found hundreds of friends on the account. Hundreds. Then, I looked through the messages people were posting on the profile. That's when things got worse. The fake account had been talking to people for months, pretending to be me. They knew things about my favorite games. They knew who my friends were. They even knew details I'd mentioned in voice chat. I started panicking because there was no way a random stranger should know all that information. Then I got a message from the fake account itself. It simply said, "Took you long enough." I demanded to know who they were, but they wouldn't answer. Instead, they challenged me to prove I was the real one. For the next hour, we argued in front of dozens of confused players. Some believed me. Others believed the fake account. Then the impersonator sent one final message. "Check your old screenshots." I had no idea what that meant, but I went digging through my computer anyway. After about 20 minutes, I found a screenshot from over a year ago. In the corner of the image was a familiar username. The exact username of the fake account. My stomach dropped. Because it wasn't a stranger pretending to be me at all. It was someone who had been on my friends list the entire time. Guys, my best friend literally betrayed me for Robux, and I still can't believe it happened. We've been friends for over a year. Every day after school, we'd hop on Roblox, grind games, trade stuff, do challenges, everything. He was basically the only person I trusted in-game. But a few days ago, he started acting weird, like short replies, always busy, always leaving mid-game, and I thought maybe he was just getting bored. Then yesterday, we were playing like normal when a random player joined and started talking to him privately, and out of nowhere, my friend just goes silent in voice chat, types "burb" and leaves. No explanation. I wait, nothing. Then I check his profile and see he's in a trade. At first, I don't think much of it until I realize what he traded. It was all my items. Everything I gave him over months, rare stuff, limiteds, event items, all gone in one trade. I message him instantly, like, "Bro, what are you doing?" And he replies, "Don't take it personally. I needed Robux." I thought he was joking until I see him in-game wearing my stuff 10 minutes later, standing next to that same random player. And that's when it hit me. He didn't just trade my items, he traded me too. Guys, someone was using Roblox maps to replicate my entire bedroom layout, and I genuinely thought I was losing my mind. A few weeks ago, I joined a random Roblox building game and walked into a house that looked strangely familiar. The bedroom had a desk in the corner, a shelf above it, and a bed against the wall. Lots of rooms looked similar, so I ignored it. But then I noticed the shelf was tilted slightly to one side, just like the one in my real room. The next day I joined again, and the builder had updated the room. Now there was a cracked texture on the wall in the exact spot where there's a scratch beside my bed. My stomach dropped. I checked the builder's profile and found another map called Project. When I joined, I froze. Guys, it was my room. The desk, the chair, the posters, even the pile of clothes I always left in the same corner. Everything was exactly where it should have been. I immediately messaged the creator asking how they made it, but they never replied. Instead, a few days later, they updated the map again. This time, it included the hallway outside my bedroom. Nobody online should have known what that looked like. I started checking all my social media accounts to see if I had accidentally posted something, but I couldn't find anything. Then another update appeared. The builder had recreated my kitchen too. At that point, I was genuinely scared. Every day, the map became more accurate. Then one night, I opened the game and noticed something new. There was a figure standing in the corner of my recreated bedroom. Next to it was a sign that said, "I think I finally got the window view right." My heart stopped, because my bedroom window wasn't visible in any photos online. The next morning, I looked outside that same window and noticed a small camera taped to a tree across the street. Thank you for watching the video. Be sure to like and subscribe.